What's going on, y'all? Nick Brown here. Today I want to talk about the 2023 Storm, Rotogrip, and 900 Global releases and which were my favorite and which weren't. Let's get right to the video. All right, first release of 2023 was the Storm Absolute, an asymmetrical hybrid R2X deep hybrid cover stock, which we hadn't seen before. It provided a very clean motion through the front part of the lane and was very high revving core with that high intermediate differential and lower RG. It was a very nice blend between cover stock and core. Some felt that the cover was weak at times. It was not a ball to use on the fresh, that's for sure. It actually was one of my personal favorites of the year. I used it quite a bit in league and on those lighter volume patterns when I still needed control, but I needed a big core to get forward and tumble for me. The Absolute was the ball that I looked to, and it was a fantastic piece for me, and I used a lot of different situations. So for that reason, in the recap, I'm gonna have it in the A tier because I saw a lot of uses for it. Sadly, it has been discontinued, but it was one of my favorites. Next up, we had the Revenant. And the Revenant was a remake of the Spectre, which we all know the Spectre was banned. So it had the same vector core with the R3S pearl cover stock, a different color, different scent. I felt that it was a little cleaner, maybe just a touch cleaner, and a little more responsive than the original Spectre. A lot of people kind of overlooked the Revenant. I'm not exactly sure why. It was a really good piece. A lot of people did like the Spectre for the short time when we had it. The Revenant, again, one of those balls you would use as you ball down, you know, before you get to your high roads, after maybe a phase 5 or at the time we had the Zen as well. So it was a good step down from both of those balls. A little smaller core, a little stronger cover stock. And yeah, it was a good piece for me. I didn't use it a ton, to be honest with you. I never really throw the extremely clean and quick balls. And again, looking back, I could have used it in some situations, but I either was manipulating a different piece at the time, or I was looking at something totally different in terms of cover stock and core strengths. But it was a good ball, and for that reason, I'd put it in the middle of the category. If we're looking on the tier list, A, B, C, D, E, I'd probably put it in the C. It was kind of useful. Sometimes it wasn't quite the right piece. Other times, if it was the piece, then you didn't throw anything else. But unfortunately, that one has been discontinued as well. Up next, we had the Rotogrip TNT. Really strong cover stock, the E-Trax Plus solid. It was the first time we'd seen that cover stock in the solid form. That really low RG, higher differential core, the dual density core. And it was a very tumbly piece, very early and smooth. It was not a piece that I really matched up a lot with, to be honest with you. I used it a good little bit in league when it first came out. And the more that I threw it, the more that I noticed that me and that ball didn't really get along too well. For that reason, I'd probably put it in the DE category, just not the ball for me. I normally would throw in that slot phase 2, and obviously not many balls are gonna beat the phase 2 for me. For that reason, I didn't throw the TNT a ton. Up next, we had the 900 Global Eternity, new core that we hadn't seen before. We had used the same cover stock, the S84 Response Pearl that we had seen on the Altered Reality, with a different core shape and numbers. This ball was absolutely amazing for me. Loved it. It replaced more of an Altered. It was a little cleaner and a little more continuous than the Altered Reality, which was really good for me. I got to throw that ball quite a bit, and I still have it in my bag today, and I plan to drill many more in the future. This unique piece that we have, it's not quite an exotic gem strength-wise, and it's not quite as clean and as responsive as some of the other balls we came out with later in the year. So for that reason, I put that ball in the B category. Fantastic ball for me. I got to throw it quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to throwing it more in the upcoming season. All right, up next we had the Roto Duo. In collaboration with Stephanie Johnson and Shannon O'Keefe, the Duo had the exotic cover stock, Microtrax Pearl. It was the first time we've seen Microtrax Pearl on a symmetrical weight block. Lower RG, medium to high differential, in that 046, 047 range. It was exactly what I was looking for at the time. The Zens for me have always been really forward. They pick up in the mid lane too hard and they kind of go forward. The Duo, I didn't have that problem. I had that strong cover stock that I'm looking for out of a Zen, but I didn't have quite the strength core. And so the Duo was a big hit for me because of how early that cover stock is, but the core wants to get it down the lane a little more. And I was able to use that ball in a lot of different scenarios. A lot of people described it as more of a Marvel Pearl type ball. I think it's a little weaker than Marvel Pearl, but fantastic ball. I still have it in my bag. It still goes with me quite a bit. I like to use it when there's a little more volume in the front part of the lane, on a higher friction surface. Really enjoyed throwing the Duo. For that reason, I would probably put it in the B tier because it was a very useful ball for me. It was a great ball off of a phase 2 or even some other later balls that came out later in the year. Next up, we had the Storm Summit, which features the TX23 hybrid cover stock, which is sister blend to the phase 2 cover. Everyone knows me in the phase 2. In the Summit, they also introduced AI technology, which is brand new to the brands of Storm, Rotogrip, and now Global. The AI technology allows Storm to manipulate the differential and RGs in whichever way they'd like. So they created the strongest symmetrical ball that's ever been built at Storm, which is 246-056 with that very aggressive cover stock. And it created a very unique motion that I personally like a lot. It's earlier and smoother than a phase 2, but it's still just as versatile. So if you need something a little earlier, a little smoother on the fresh than phase 2, sometimes the phase 2 is just a tad too clean. That Summit was an absolute beast for me, and it still is in my bag. I throw it quite a bit when I'm bowling those heavy volume patterns. Not quite a house shot ball for me, a little too much core, too much cover stock. Fantastic ball, and for that reason I would put it in the A tier for this year. Just a great benchmark, strong, symmetrical from Storm. Next up, we had the Hustle Rip and the Hustle M&M. I never really throw lower diff and higher RG balls, so I didn't drill them. I would throw them in the video, maybe throw them on house shots every now and then. From my experiences and seeing them in person and seeing them on the regional tour this year, the Rip is very close to the Hustle Inc. And I've been told that I need to drill a Rip, so when I get around to it, I will have a video up for that as well. The Hustle M&M was a replacement for the Hustle Wine, which is a Pearl version of the Rip. Clean through the front, and it's not super boomy down lane. Lower flaring, obviously. Great step down from those other symmetrical Pearls. Next up, we had the Storm DNA, a brand new asymmetrical solid featuring a brand new cover stock, the EXO solid cover. What does that mean? I still don't know, to be honest. DNA featured the Super Coil core, a lower RG, mid to high diff, a very strong intermediate differential. And so when I first drilled it, actually if you go back and look at that video, I threw 300 with it in the video while filming for it. Fantastic piece out of the box. I was a big fan of it. And the more that I threw it, the more I started gravitating towards other balls in my bags, the Gem, the Reality, balls of that nature. The DNA, the cover stock, after a little while, I didn't quite see the use for it. It felt a little too clean and a little too smooth for what I was trying to use it for. You know, when I'd match it with a bunch of surface, it would still pick up in the fronts really hard, but then it wouldn't continue through the pins. For that reason, I put the DNA in the D category. Just wasn't a really good matchup for me, even though I really liked it at first. And sometimes balls are like that, you know, you kind of like the balls when you first drill them and then they kind of fizzle out, or you might not like a ball at first and then you really like it. Next up, we had the Storm IQ Tour Ruby, which is another Pearl IQ. I never got to throw the gold ball. I drilled 2 emeralds and was not a fan, so I didn't know what to expect from the Ruby. A lot of people really liked the gold, and I had some friends that liked the emerald. The Ruby, fantastic ball. I mean, it is everything that I wished for and more out of a Pearl IQ. It's a fantastic ball. That really, you know, controlled core in it that I like out of the IQ Tours. I've drilled so many IQ Tours, and I'm gonna drill a lot more of these Rubies as well. This ball goes pretty much everywhere with me, whether I'm bowling on house shots, tournament patterns. If I need that lower RG, low diff, with that Pearl cover stock, the R2S, I'm gonna throw this Ruby all the time. There's not a ball out there that matches it. And for that reason, I'm gonna put it in the A tier. It's a fantastic piece for us this year. Gonna use it quite a bit in this upcoming season. So next we had the 900 Global Zen Gold label. Again, mentioned previous in the video, me and Zens haven't gotten along so well. I've drilled a lot of Zens. I had the Zen Master, then the Zen Soul. I wasn't really a fan of any of them until the gold label. The gold label changed me. This ball is fantastic. The new 801 Reserve Blend cover stock mixed with that Zen core. A little cleaner cover stock, a little more boomy down lane. So I got to see exactly what a lot of people saw of the original Zen, but with my ball roll, the gold label matches it much, much better. I get this one through the front part of the lane. It's still very forward, but then it goes crazy down the lane. I'm a big fan of the gold label when I got to get left and open my angles up and just send it to the right. And of course, the colors pop. Gold labels mixed with the purple and black. Just fantastic looking ball sitting on the shelf and on the racks, of course. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's not one of the balls I'm gonna use when I first start out. Obviously on the fresh, I'm gonna use it later in the block. Another great piece from 900 Global. Then we had the 900 Global XPonent. This one has a lower RG, medium to high differential core. So it kind of sits right there in between a Phase 2 and an IQ Tour, both numbers and cover wise. It has the 701 Reserve Blend cover, which also was the first time we saw the 701 blend. Fits right between a Phase 2 and an IQ Tour for me. I already have 2 of these in my bag. A lot of people have liked this ball on house shots, patterns. There's not a pattern or a lane condition out there that XPonent isn't gonna look good on. It's just been a fantastic ball for Storm, Rotogrip, and 900 Global this year. And so for that reason, I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Just a great all-around benchmark ball that I've used quite a bit across the season. Next up, we had the Rotogrip clone. The clone, well, it kind of confused people there for a minute. Everyone thought that it was a UFO alert replacement, which very similar core. It changed the densities, so it changed the numbers. I think it changed the point RG going up 1 and dropped the diff 1. Fantastic ball for me. I know some people have kind of had mixed feelings on it. For me, the UFO alert was sometimes a little wiggly when it saw puddle of oil. The clone with this updated solid cover, yet with the reactor gloss, it was clean just like the UFO alert, but when it saw oil, it wasn't scared of it. It hooked in it, rolled in it, and went to the pins where the UFO alert would sometimes plaque 10 or wrap 10. It just wouldn't slow down the oil. It's been flying under the radar. I think a lot of people have been missing out on this ball. So if you do not have a clone, consider looking at getting a clone. I'm gonna put this in the B tier. I didn't use it on the fresh. I still use it quite a bit. After those bigger, stronger balls like a Gem or a Reality, I need to step down, something a little cleaner, something a little more responsive, but I don't need that hockey stick motion. The clone is the ball for me, and for that reason, it's gonna be in the B tier. Next up, we have the RGrip Duo Dynamics. And this one featured a brand new cover stock mixed with an asymmetrical low RG, low differential core. So it had a 247 RG, 026 diff, and 10 intermediate. They took the Rubicon core, pretty much shrunk it, and made it as small as possible in the diff category and lowered the RG, therefore making it more of a asymmetrical IQ Tour. Because if you think about the numbers in the IQ Tour is 249, 029, and the Duo Dynamics was 247, so a little lower RG with a 026 differential, thus making it a very controllable piece, early and smooth. The first one I was not a big fan of, so I drilled a second one, and the second one, I mean, totally different ball for me. A little stronger than an IQ Tour, nice blending piece on the fresh when you need something that's gonna be smooth and round throughout the whole lane. And the two-handers really like it as well because you're adding that intermediate diff in there. You used to be able to add a weight hole. It's been a good piece for the brands. I still use an IQ Tour quite a bit. The Duo Dynamics surely has its place in my bag. I just don't throw it a ton. Reason I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Next, we had the Storm Virtual Energy Blackout. And man, oh man, this ball is fantastic. Rex Pearl cover with that famous shape lock HD core found in all the virtual gravity, the gravity shifts, the virtual energy, of course, and now we have the blackout. I've already drilled 2 of these. I've drilled a pin down and a pin up. This ball is one of the most versatile asymmetrical balls I've ever thrown in my entire life. You can put a bunch of surface on it. It becomes a really, really strong early ball with nice continuation to the pins. Then you can shine it up like it comes out of the box, and you get that ball that just clears the front part of the lane with ease. Pretty much ignores the mid lane, but it's still pretty forward, and then it just goes crazy left down lane. I've never seen an asymmetrical ball this versatile when it comes to layout, when it comes to surface. It is good on all patterns. For me, I've been able to throw it on stuff all the way down to 35 feet when I'm throwing it at the gutter really hard, up to 48 feet when I need traction, I need to control the pocket. It is ball of the year for me. No doubt, no question in my mind, it is the best asymmetrical pearl on the market today. So for that very reason, I'm gonna put it in the A tier, but it's above all the rest in my opinion. It is the best ball that Storm, Rotogrip, or 900 Global have come out with this year. Then we had the 900 Global Eternity Pi. Different cover stock than the Reality, 901 Reserve Blend, but it had the Eternity Core, which I mentioned earlier, fantastic ball for me. No different with the Pi. The Pi, the solid cover stock, gets to pick up in the mid lane a little more, a little earlier. Still just as continuous down lane. It picks up in the oil a little better than the Eternity with that solid cover stock. Reminds me more of a lock, not just the color-wise, both reaction and color-wise, honestly. It's a good piece off of those really strong asymmetrical balls like the Gem or the Reality, but it's not quite as clean and continuous as a clone. So it kind of fits right in the middle there for me. And I see this ball coming into play a lot next season. It's not a ball that I use a whole lot on the house shot, of course, a little too strong where I like to play in league. So for that reason, I'm gonna put the Eternity Pi in the B tier because I haven't been able to throw it a ton, but it is a fantastic ball for me, always in my tournament bag. So for that very reason, B tier it is. Next up, we had the Rotogrip Magic Gem. If you've watched this channel enough, you know I'm a huge Gem fan. The original Gem, one of my all-time favorites. Exotic Gem, same thing. So with the Magic, I had very high hopes because it had one of my favorite cover stocks from the RSTX1, the Micro Tracks hybrid cover. And it did not disappoint, okay? Sometimes I felt like I needed something between the Gem and the Exotic. Sometimes the Gem was a little too early and sometimes the Exotic was a little too clean. So I would try to either surface the Exotic to make it pick up a little bit more, or I would kind of bring the surface up in the Gem to get it, and I could get them close, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And of course, my man Roto Slim came up with the Magic Gem, and this ball is everything that I wish for and more. It's cleaner than the Gem, but it's earlier than the Exotic, and it goes to the pins like a madman. It is phenomenal, okay? Phenomenal. If it wasn't for the Virtual Energy Blackout, the Magic Gem would be the #1 ball of the year for me, but it's still going in the A tier because it's just a fantastic ball. Next up, we had the TNT Infused. TNT, I wasn't a big fan of, obviously, that I mentioned earlier, but this one, we have a hybrid cover stock, E-Trax Plus hybrid, 2-part pearl, 1-part solid, so it's much cleaner and more responsive than the TNT. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. Lower RG, higher differential core with that clean cover stock. And man, oh man, I was very surprised. This ball strikes a ton. When I need something a little weaker, something a little cleaner, but still very forward core, and it lets me manipulate a lot of different ways with my my hand, this ball is fantastic. I've been able to use it when I get a little further left and kind of got to send it to the right. If you watch my YouTube live on Thursday night, league night, I use this TNT Infused quite a bit after the first game when I got to get left and kind of start throwing at the gutter. So it likes the sport patterns. It's a very versatile piece. You can shine it up like it comes out of the box, and you get that really clean and quick motion, or you can put a little surface on it, bring the reaction a little closer to you, and you can get a little closer to the friction. For that reason, with the TNT Infused, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Overall good piece on the year. Next up, we had the Storm in collaboration with Belmo, the Storm Journey. I had the Fate core, the F8 core. I was a big fan of the Fate. The Fate was very close to one of my all-time favorite balls, the Wolverine from a few years back. I had a lot of high hopes for the Journey. The Journey, of course, has the pearlized cover stock that the Phase 2 had, the TX16 Pearl. So when I heard that they were meshing two of my favorite balls, I was like, this ball's gonna be a match made in heaven, and 100% it is. It's clean through the front part of the lane with that core getting it through the front, but then that Phase 2 pearlized cover, TX16 Pearl, I haven't thrown it a ton in league. It's one of those balls I'm gonna see myself using on patterns quite a bit. After my Phase 2 starts to get a little early and smooth, I'll just grab this Journey and continue striking. So for that reason, I'm gonna put the Journey in the B tier. I just haven't thrown it a ton, but it is a fantastic piece. Belmo and Storm, you did a great job on this one. Next up, we had the 900 Global Sublime. Now Sublime, Features a new core, AI technology, same as in the Summit. It allows Storm to change the RG and differential values in extreme ways. The Sublime features the immersed core with a RG of 247 and a differential of 056. Very, very strong core with the 802 Reserve Blend hybrid cover stock, where they took components from the Reality cover stock and the Wolverine and meshed them. I'm seeing the Sublime quite a bit to a Marvel Pearl. For me, the Sublime is right there in the middle of my bag. When I need something a little weaker than a Summit or a Phase 2, the Sublime has been that ball. It's not quite as clean and as quick as a TNT Infused. I can use a Sublime in a lot of different scenarios. I can use the Sublime in league, lets me stay a little straighter when I'm really forward at the back of it, or I can hook the whole lane when I get my hand around if I want to. It's been a fantastic ball for me this year so far, and I'm looking forward to using it in 2024. And so for that very reason, I'm gonna put the Sublime in B tier. It's not quite to A yet, but it's getting there. I've already shot a couple honor scores with it. It's a fantastic ball. I think you should really consider looking at a Sublime. And to wrap up the year, we have the IQ Tour 78U. And of course, with the new PBA rules, we can no longer throw pitch blacks after January 6th of 2024. The reason why it's not January 1st is because they have the RPI. Anyways, the IQ Tour 78U features that proven C3 centripetal control core found in the IQ Tour, in the Ruby, and all the other IQ Tour balls. This time it has that 78 hardness, compliant with the PBA, and it is a bad ball, okay? And not bad in it's a bad ball, it is the ball. This ball may very well be the best urethane ball I've ever thrown. And it's not just hype, it's not just, oh, because it's the new ball, we're gonna push it. I've drilled two, I've drilled so many pitch blacks in the past, and I have never gotten a pitch black to roll like this IQ Tour 78U. For me, I like to throw urethane the way it's intended. I like to play straight up the boards. I don't wanna have to get left and throw it to the right. If I'm getting left and throwing it to the right, I shouldn't be throwing a urethane ball. This ball lets me do exactly what I want to do with it. It goes to the pins extremely well. It flares more than any other urethane ball that I've had in the past, that I've actually liked, that is. I don't see myself throwing any other urethane ball. Obviously, I'm not allowed to next year on the PBA, but even in those local sport shot sweepers, nationals, etc., that ball is just going to be a fantastic ball for me all around. And for that reason, it's in the A tier. But Storm didn't have a whole lot of time to get this one ready for the PBA, and I'm so glad they did, because this ball is a winner. All right, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list video, recapping 2023 with all the fantastic bowling balls that came out of Utah this year. Thank you so much to everyone for all the support this year. Thank you so much for watching these videos. We're gonna be updating some stuff going into 2024. Can't wait for the content. Got some really cool things in the works. Thank you Storm, Rotogrip, 9 Global for the best bowling balls on the market. Thank you Turbo for the best grips and interchangeable thumb that anyone could ask for. Thank you EFX for fantastic jerseys, hoodies, jackets, all that good stuff. BowlerX.com, where you can get all your accessories, bowling balls, shoes, bags. Thank you guys so much for the support all year long, and I can't wait for a great 2024. So with that, have a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2024.